Timekeeping began with nature, tracking the cycles of the sun, moon, and seasons to create calendars. Over time, inventions like sundials and mechanical clocks gave us a way to divide and measure it more precisely. But what exactly is time? Is it a real physical dimension of the universe, or a concept we've created to make sense of change? One undeniable truth about time is its relativity, as demonstrated by Einstein's theory. Interestingly, this concept is also mentioned in Surah Al-Ma'arij, where Allah says, "The angels and the Spirit ascend unto him in a day, the measure whereof is 50,000 years." This verse offers a profound understanding of time's relativity. It describes how angels, traveling toward Allah at a specific velocity through a path known only to them, experience time differently. For the angels, this journey spans a single day, but for humans, that same day equates to 50,000 years. This fascinating perspective aligns perfectly with the idea that time is not absolute. It flows differently depending on speed and the observer's frame of reference, as Einstein's relativity explains. Based on Einstein's relativity, some argue that the past, present, and future exist simultaneously. Think of a book as a metaphor for the universe. If you want to read page 11, it must already exist. If the page doesn't exist, you can't access it. Now consider that in the book of the universe, every page is already written. Let's say you're reading page 100. That's your present. The pages you've already read are your past, and the pages ahead of you are your future. All of these pages exist simultaneously, but you can only experience one at a time, the present. I have explained this theory in detail in my previous video on time. If the idea that past, present, and future all exist simultaneously is true, it raises some profound questions. Can we travel back in time or forward into the future? If the future is already written, do we truly have free will? Earlier, I discussed the preserved tablet, Al-Law al-Mahfuz, which Allah refers to in various ways in the Quran, Kitab al-Mubin, the clear book, and Kitab al-Mastur, the unrolled, untouched tablet. This tablet holds everything that has happened, is happening, and will happen, written long before the creation of this universe. If we assume that past, present, and future coexist, then this preserved tablet could be seen as the source of time itself. For example, if it's written in the tablet that after watching this video, you will comment, then your action is already recorded. But with Allah's will, if that future event is somehow erased from the tablet, that specific future, your comment, would no longer exist. There would be no present of you commenting, nor any past associated with it. The past, present, and future are all intertwined in the tablet, and it is through the will of Allah that time unfolds. In this view, the preserved tablet doesn't just record events, it may actually be the framework that governs time, with Allah's will determining how the past, present, and future interact. Let's first talk about the timeline of earthly lives and how it aligns with the understanding of our existence. In my previous videos on the soul, we discussed how our souls were created long before our physical bodies. In Surah Al-Araf, Allah the Almighty mentions, "When your Lord took from the children of Adam, from their loins, their descendants, and made them testify concerning themselves, saying, 'Am I not your Lord, who cherishes and sustains you?' They said, 'Yes, we testify.'" This moment marks the covenant, mithaq, between Allah and every soul that will ever exist. Your timeline, my timeline, the timelines of those who have passed and those yet to be born, all began at this moment, the moment our souls were created. Our timeline can be envisioned as a continuum, segmented into distinct phases that chart our existence from the covenant to eternity. After the covenant, our souls remained in Alam al-Arwah, the realm of souls, until we are born into this world. Now, if we visualize the timeline of human life, it would start from this point, the creation of the soul. Initially, this timeline is simple and linear, beginning at the soul's creation. It continues forward until birth, when things begin to get more complex. From Alam al-Arwah, our souls transition to the physical world, where they inhabit bodies at birth. This marks the commencement of the earthly timeline, a phase rich with choices, actions, and consequences. Unlike the linear simplicity of the pre-birth phase, the earthly timeline becomes intricate and multifaceted, branching out based on our decisions. Earthly life introduces free will, allowing us to make choices that shape our destinies. Every decision we make creates branches in our timeline, much like a tree with countless twigs and offshoots. Let us illustrate this concept with examples. Imagine you face the choice of planting a tree, or refraining from doing so. If you decide to plant the tree, this action introduces a new branch in your timeline. One that includes the tree's growth, its impact on the environment, and the beings it supports. Conversely, if you choose not to plant the tree, this branch never materializes, altering the course of events in your timeline and potentially in the timelines of others. The timeline branches, expanding with each decision, and every branch is governed by what is written in the preserved tablet, where everything, every event, every choice, every outcome is already recorded. It's not just humans that have timelines. Every living thing, including animals, plants, and even inanimate objects, has its own timeline in the preserved tablet. These timelines interact, overlap, and influence each other, creating a vast, interconnected web of existence. As we make decisions, our personal timeline becomes more intricate, branching out in multiple directions, while some branches disappear, influenced by the choices we make. However, when we die, the soul is transferred to Alam al-Barzakh, the realm of waiting, where our ability to create new branches in the timeline is limited. In this state, we no longer have the same choices that influence our earthly timeline. Instead, the timeline becomes a straight line, devoid of branching decisions, moving toward its final point, the Day of Judgment. On the Day of Judgment, the timeline of each individual is packed or revealed. Every decision, every action, every branch we created, and every moment we experienced will be shown to us as if it were a movie of our life. Everything we did or did not do will be accounted for, as it has all been recorded in the preserved tablet. This final point is where all the branches converge and where our actions and choices throughout our timeline are evaluated. Our timeline, once intricate and complex, will have its final moment of reckoning on this day. Now, the question is, can we go back in time and forward into the future if they exist simultaneously? The answer, in theoretical terms, is not completely dismissive. Imagine a map. On a standard map, we can define the location of any point on Earth using latitude and longitude. These two coordinates help us determine the position of any object or location on a flat, two-dimensional plane. To make this map more accurate, we often add a third coordinate, altitude, to specify how high something is above the Earth's surface. This transforms the map into a three-dimensional space where we can pinpoint objects in height, width, and depth. Now, let's expand this idea by adding a fourth coordinate, time. If we consider time as a fourth dimension, we can think of it as the axis that tells us when an event occurs, in addition to where it happens in space. In this framework, the position of any event, object, or particle would be defined not only by its three spatial coordinates, but also by when it occurs in time. This concept is crucial to understanding space-time, a four-dimensional continuum that combines space and time into a single unified structure. If you knew the exact coordinates of time, not just where something is in space, but also when it happens, you could theoretically travel to that point in time. Imagine that you have access to a map of space-time, where every event in the universe is fixed at its specific place in time. With the right tools and knowledge, you could navigate through this 4D map and go to any moment in history, past or future. This is where the idea of time travel starts to make theoretical sense. You could, hypothetically, move through space-time the same way you move through physical space, by adjusting your time coordinate in the same way you adjust your spatial coordinates. In this 4D view, space tells us where something is located in the universe, while time tells us when that event or location occurs. This concept is deeply rooted in Einstein's theory of relativity, which shows that space and time are intertwined and cannot be considered independently. Just as you can pinpoint a location on Earth using latitude, longitude, and altitude, you could, in this model, identify a point in time with the same precision. The key would be knowing the correct coordinates to access that point: latitude, longitude, altitude, and time. Now let's discuss the question: do we have free will? Throughout our discussions in the previous episodes, we've explored the concept that everything may seem predetermined. Scholars like Imam al-Ghazali and Ibn Taymiyyah have argued that humans possess free will, despite Allah's knowledge of every decision we have made and will make. While it is true that Allah's will encompasses all things, and everything is recorded in the preserved tablet, Alawh al-Mahfuz, this does not mean that the future is immutable. Allah, in His infinite wisdom, gazes upon the preserved tablet countless times a day, and with each glance, He decrees what He wills, lifting the humble, lowering the exalted, enriching the poor, impoverishing the rich, giving life to one and taking it from another. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "Nothing can change the divine decree except dua." This hadith emphasizes the power of supplication in altering the course of events. It suggests that even when something has been divinely decreed, it can be changed through sincere dua. Therefore, while Allah's knowledge encompasses everything, including our choices, this does not negate the existence of free will. In fact, the ability to make choices and supplicate to Allah indicates that we do have free will within the framework of Allah's ultimate will and decree. As remarkable and logical as the block universe theory may seem, it faces significant challenges when confronted with the principles of quantum mechanics, which suggest a different, more dynamic, and uncertain nature of time and reality. At the heart of quantum mechanics is uncertainty and probability. The famous Heisenberg uncertainty principle asserts that we cannot know both the position and momentum of a particle with absolute precision at the same time. At the quantum level, events do not unfold deterministically. Instead, the outcome of certain events can only be predicted in terms of probabilities. This leaves room for indeterminacy. Things are not strictly set in stone. For example, the outcome of a quantum measurement, such as the spin of an electron, cannot be known with certainty until it is observed. This suggests that the future is not completely determined and can unfold in multiple possible ways. If the future is already written in the block universe, this quantum indeterminacy seems paradoxical. How can there be room for probabilistic events if everything is predetermined? Quantum mechanics, particularly through its concept of wave function collapse, implies that the future is not as fixed as the block universe suggests. Instead of all moments existing simultaneously, quantum theory points to a reality where the future is open and influenced by both probabilistic events and observation. In quantum mechanics, the observer plays a crucial role in determining the outcome of an event. This is famously illustrated in the double-slit experiment, where particles such as electrons behave like waves until they are measured, When the particles are observed, they collapse into a specific state. Quantum mechanics suggests that the observer plays a role in shaping the future, meaning that the future is not completely laid out, and our actions may indeed influence the course of events. Another major challenge that quantum mechanics presents to the block universe is the phenomenon of quantum entanglement. In entanglement, two particles become correlated in such a way that the state of one particle can instantaneously affect the state of the other, regardless of the distance separating them. This phenomenon appears to violate the principles of locality, that events that are far apart cannot influence each other faster than the speed of light. Entanglement suggests that reality is not as neatly divided into fixed, separate moments in time and space as the block universe would have us believe. Instead, the interconnectedness of quantum particles implies that the universe is much more fluid and dynamic, with events and particles influencing each other instantaneously, transcending the limitations of space and time. This spooky action at a distance, as Albert Einstein referred to it, raises questions about the very nature of time in the block universe. If everything is predetermined and exists as a fixed block, then how can entangled particles influence each other instantaneously across vast distances? There is another explanation that reconciles the ideas of free will and time. This is growing block universe. In this model, time is still conceived as a fourth dimension, and the universe is visualized as a block. However, in contrast to the block universe, where all events, past, present, and future, exist simultaneously, the growing block universe proposes that the past and present are fixed, but the future is still open and continually unfolding. In the growing block universe, however, only the past and present are fixed. The future is not yet written in the block, and this allows for time to evolve continuously. The idea is that as time passes, the present becomes part of the past, and new moments are added to the block. This allows the universe to grow as new events unfold, creating an open-ended future that has not yet been determined. Imagine writing a daily journal. Each completed page represents the past, fixed, and unchangeable. The current day's entry is the present, being actively written. The blank pages ahead symbolize the future, open to endless possibilities. Thus, the growing block universe provides a more flexible model than the classical block universe. It retains the idea that the past is immutable, yet allows the future to remain open and undetermined until it becomes the present. This flexibility opens up a space for free will, as individuals' actions in the present can shape the course of the future. In discussing the growing block universe, it's important to address the concept of causality. Causality is the relationship between events where one event, the cause, leads to another event, the effect. In classical determinism, the universe operates in a strictly cause and effect manner, where every event is the inevitable result of preceding events. The growing block universe, however, retains the idea of causality while allowing for free will. It proposes that events unfold in a causal chain. The present influences the future, and the past influences the present. However, this model introduces the notion that new events are continually being added to the block as time progresses. These new events represent moments of choice and decision-making that are not predetermined. Thus, while we are still bound by the causal laws of the universe, the laws of physics, biology, etc., we are not restricted to a fixed set of outcomes. Our actions and decisions add new events to the causal chain, and this continuously shapes the course of the future. The future is open to change because the causal chain is not yet fully formed. It is still growing. The growing block universe in quantum mechanics share common themes of dynamism and potentiality, offering complementary insights into time. The growing block universe's notion of an open future aligns with quantum mechanics' probabilistic nature. In both models, the past and present are fixed and real. The future exists as a realm of possibilities, not certainties. In quantum mechanics, observation determines the state of a system. Similarly, in the growing block universe, the present is the point where reality is actively constructed. Think of a filmmaker capturing a scene. The recorded footage, past, is fixed. The live scene being filmed, present, is actively unfolding. And the scenes yet to be filmed, future, remain unwritten. The open future aligns with the idea of free will, where individuals' choices actively shape reality. Quantum mechanics supports this view by showing that outcomes are not fixed, but influenced by actions and interactions. Time is not merely a backdrop, but an active process where reality is constructed moment by moment. We humans can only think and theorize, but truly, time is a mystery of existence. What it exactly is, only Allah the Almighty knows.